In his announcement about pursuing arrest warrants for Hamas and Israeli leadership, the ICC's chief prosecutor raised significant concerns of famine in Gaza. The key aid organization involved in distributing food in Gaza is the UN's World Food Program. Cindy McCain is its executive director. We spoke with her a little earlier about the ICC and what's happening in Gaza. McCain spoke to us from Zambia, where she's attending a summit on drought conditions there. Have a listen to our conversation. Thank you very much for making the time.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I know you're coming to us from Zambia. You're there for a very significant summit on responding to the droughts caused by El Nino. I have a number of questions for you on that in just a moment, but I do have to start off on the situation in Gaza because of the developing news out of the International Criminal Court. The prosecutor wrote in his statement in releasing the decision to lay charges on both leadership of Hamas and Israel that, according to him, Israel intentionally caused starvation, and that is criminal. He writes, famine is present in some areas of Gaza and is imminent in other areas. What's your reaction, Ms. McCain, to that?
Well, we have seen the evidence of famine in the north, and there is starvation, severe starvation happening in the south as well. It's a devastating situation. We have asked and continue to ask for plenty of access. We're getting more, but it's still not enough. We need to get in at scale to be able to avert famine or also save those who are literally dying right now. It's a devastating situation. We at WFP understand the need and the necessity and the crisis that this is in when children especially don't get the nutrients they need, because then they're stunted as a result of it, and their hopes for a really bright future are devastated from that.
Do you agree with the statement that famine is present in some areas of Gaza and is imminent in others?
Yes, I do. I do agree with that.
And when you talk about gaining more access, you said there's some more, but more is required. Can you expand on that statement? What would that look like?
Well, what it means is, as you know, we now have a pier that we're bringing goods, commodities into. We have a few more entry points, meaning north and south, where we can get goods in. But it's still a slow process. The amount of trucks that are getting in are certainly more than they were a month ago, but it's still not enough. I mean, we at WP really want to get in and make sure people don't starve to death. And we've been unable to do that at scale so far. But I will say, with that said, I have to commend our folks from WFP, because they are working under incredible circumstances within that region and within Gaza, and I'm so proud of them as a result of it.
What, in your view, is the difference between what you are able to do there and what at scale would look like?
Well, at scale would be hundreds of trucks a day. And it's not all about food, especially in the north. It's also medicine, clean water, hygiene, all those things, because all of that leads to disease. So it's a combination of things to help stave off famine at this point.
And do you have a view on, Ms. McCain, the decision to press charges and the invocation, essentially, of an allegation that Israel is purposefully causing this famine or causing people to starve?
I do not have a view. I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you.
Do you have any observations based on your work presiding over, the world's largest aid agency when it comes to trying to ensure people don't starve?
Well, yes, of course. That's what we're trying to do now, is to be able to get in at scale so that people do not starve. And certainly in the case of the children, make sure that they have adequate nutrition immediately. That's really what we do, and that's what we need to be doing now.
Are there any conversations that you're a part of that lead you to believe that could ever be the case in the near future?
I don't know, and I would, if I had been part of a conversation, I wouldn't tell you.
Well, I'm just trying to ascertain on behalf of people who are worried about the situation that your organization is aiming to address, whether that ever might be possible.
I'm not sure I understand the question. WFP is a UN agency. We are neutral. We do not, we don't take sides in things. The side that we take is of those who are receiving our food, and that's who I care about, are the people that are on the ground that we need to feed.
I certainly understand that. I just essentially meant, is there any possibility of reaching scale, do you think?
I think so. I mean, I'm seriously hoping that the Israelis are going to allow us to get an even more trucks and food that we need to be doing. But this should have happened a long time ago, because now famine is imminent, and it's something that we're going to have to try to fix in the long run.
And just one more question before I move on to the climate summit. When you talk about imminent and the imminent nature of famine, can you qualify that?
Wasting. We've seen, our people on the ground have seen children wasting. They've seen adults wasting. They've seen children who have passed, adults who have passed as a result of no food. And so it's extremely important that we continue to do what we do and do it at scale. That's why we are participating and advocating for any entry point, any ability to get food in.
Okay, on a larger sort of, or a different note, I should say, a larger scale, you're there in Zambia, as I mentioned off the top, to talk about El Nino and the drought, the impact of drought across that region and in other places as well. I know that your focus as executive director of the WFP has been, on one hand, the emergency response, but on the other, longer term, more sustainable solutions that more directly addressed adaptation. Why did you see that as something you wanted to pursue?
Well, it's something WFP's been doing all along. Resilience programming and resilience work that we do is what's going to stop hunger. That's what that's what we want to do, is to stop hunger worldwide. And so resilience planning and the ability to give people the tools to be able to not only plant crops, but in the case of Zambia, plant drought-resistant crops that will then give them a better yield in lean years like this, but also give them the assistance in the meantime to be able to get them through so that they can do just that. If we can get crops in with adequate water, again, now that's another part of this, is adequate water, that are drought resistant, then we're going to have the ability to hopefully feed communities, not just families.
And is it difficult to convince, for example, donor countries that they should not only be helping to fund the emergency responses, but what you just described as well?
Not at all, actually. Donor countries, and I will speak to Canada on this, are amazing at this. They really want to see resilience, and not so much in the way of emergency funding. Resilience is the way we get out of this. Resilience is how we stop hunger, and that's the goal in this. My goal is to put us out of business and make sure there's no hunger.
And what about on a larger scale? I mean, you referenced Canada. I thank you for doing that. I'm wondering if you can expand on sort of Canada's role and like-minded countries in funding the work that the WFP does, because I have seen a number of your posts on social media talking about, thank you for your donation, but we need more. Essentially, your work does not seem, as much as you'd like, as much as you and everyone else would hope that it would, it doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, these are lean years from a financial standpoint. Donor giving worldwide is way down, not just with us, but with every humanitarian agency. And so what I try to do is make sure that countries understand not just the need, but the danger that we're in. And I'll speak to Zambia on this. This country was the breadbasket at one point of this region. It was thriving, and now because of drought, it's not thriving, and 6.6 million people are acutely hungry. So it's important that I send that message, tell that message to any country that will listen, and many, many, many do. Believe me, they're very active in this, and encourage them to give as much as they can. And Canada, I have to say, has been very generous to WFP.
I'm going to leave it on that note, Ms. McCain. I appreciate you making the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.